Shocking moments. Sukai thrown out at the airport. Tan Songyun is angry. The moment the airport doors slid shut behind them, everything changed. What had begun as a simple travel day spiraled into one of the most explosive public scenes Sukai and Tan Songyun had ever been caught in, and the truth of how Sukai was thrown out, and why Tan Songyun reacted with such raw emotion remains one of the most dissected events of the year. Witnesses described the atmosphere as tense even before the argument escalated. Security had already doubled due to crowd pressure, fans were pressed against the barriers shouting their names, and the energy inside the terminal crackled with anticipation, the kind that builds when something unexpected is about to rupture the calm. Hold on tight, C-drama family. The world of your favorite celebrities is unfolding before your eyes, and every moment is more breathtaking than the last. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications right now, because trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next. Sukai's arrival had been unplanned, at least according to official schedules. He had not been expected to accompany Tan Songyun, who was traveling for a one-day private engagement that her studio insisted was work-related. Yet the moment Sukai appeared beside her in the VIP line, shoulders squared, jaw tight, gaze fixed forward as if determined to protect her from the surrounding chaos, the narrative shifted instantly. Fans sensed something deeper unfolding. Bodyguards exchanged subtle signals. Managers watched with intense concern. Even airport officers whispered among themselves, sensing that a fragile boundary between personal life and public exposure was beginning to crack. It happened fast. Too fast for anyone to fully process. One moment Sukai was guiding Tan Songyun through the corridor, his hand hovering near her back, close enough to support her if the crowd surged again, yet careful enough to respect her space in such a public setting. The next moment, two airport officials approached with urgent expressions, citing a sudden complication regarding his clearance status. Their voices were calm but firm, their tone strictly procedural, yet the tension beneath their words was unmistakable. Something had gone wrong. Something unexpected. Something that targeted Sukai directly. At first, both stars assumed it was a misunderstanding, the kind that could be resolved with a brief explanation or a phone call. But when the officials insisted that Sukai step aside, when they requested he follow them to a separate area, when they made it clear he would not be permitted to continue forward, everything inside Tan Songyun shifted. Witnesses saw it instantly, the subtle widening of her eyes, the instinctive turn of her head toward him, the tightening of her grip on her passport, all small signals of alarm that revealed her true emotional state far more clearly than any dramatic outburst ever could. Sukai tried to diffuse the situation with calm professionalism, offering documents, speaking with composed clarity, hoping to resolve the issue before it escalated. But something about the official's stance made it clear the decision had already been made. Bodyguards closed in. Airport security repositioned. Fans on the other side of the glass saw the sudden tension and immediately began filming, shouting, reacting in real time to the palpable shift in the air. Then it broke. One guard stepped forward and raised his hand in a gesture that signaled Sukai could not proceed any farther. The forcefulness of the move startled even bystanders. Sukai paused, surprise flashing across his face before he regained control of his expression. Tan Songyun turned sharply toward the guard, her voice low but unmistakably firm as she demanded an explanation, her tone carrying the protective intensity she rarely allowed anyone to witness. For a woman known for her soft elegance, this sudden steel was shocking, and the few people close enough to hear her words described them as sharp, precise, and fueled by genuine anger. But before she could finish speaking, the situation escalated further. One officer touched Sukai's arm, urging him to step away from the boarding area. It was not violent, not aggressive in the physical sense, but it was authoritative enough to make the moment look harsher than intended. Cameras flashed from every direction. Fans screamed in disbelief. Managers rushed forward waving credentials. Chaos erupted in seconds. And that was when Tan Songyun snapped. She stepped between Sukai and the officer with a speed that stunned everyone watching, her voice rising, not loud, not dramatic, but filled with the kind of emotion that cuts deeper because of its controlled intensity. She demanded clarity, she rejected the abruptness of the decision, she insisted they stop touching him, and every word that fell from her mouth seemed to carry a weight she had been holding back for far too long. People around them froze. Even the officials hesitated, taken aback by the quiet fury in her eyes. Soo-kai, wanting to protect her from further stress, tried to gently guide her back, but she refused to move. Not until she understood what was actually happening. Not until she knew he was safe. Not until she was certain this situation was not being manipulated by unseen hands behind the scenes. Her anger was not the wild, uncontrolled kind. It was focused, sharp, and precise, the kind of anger born from fear, confusion, and something deeper. Something personal. And perhaps that was the moment fans understood everything. The way her voice shook ever so slightly when she said his name. The way Soo-kai stepped in front of her even as security tried to redirect him. The way their eyes met, his calm, hers fierce, and how that single exchange said more than any public statement ever could. Eventually, after heated discussion, Soo-kai was escorted out of the VIP checkpoint area, and although it was not a forceful removal, the sight of him being guided away while Tan Songyun stood frozen in shock created the most explosive image of the day. She called out to him once, softly, not enough for the cameras to catch the exact words, but those nearby heard the tremor in her voice, a sound that hinted at the kind of vulnerability she rarely allowed anyone to see. And then she did something no one expected. Instead of continuing toward the departure gate, instead of following the original plan, instead of pretending everything was fine for the sake of professionalism, Tan Songyun turned away from the boarding lane and walked after him, ignoring her manager's protests, ignoring the schedule, ignoring the risk of headlines exploding out of control. She followed him because leaving without him, after witnessing that sudden, unexplained confrontation, had become impossible. And the airport, the fans, the internet, they all saw it. And they knew, something had shifted. Something real. Something raw. Something that would change everything. What happened in the next 10 minutes would become one of the most replayed and reanalyzed airport clips of the year, a moment that no witness could forget, because just when everyone believed the chaos had reached its peak, a new wave of shock swept through the terminal, triggered not by a crowd surge, not by security interference, but by Tan Songyun, who stepped into the unfolding storm with a determination so sharp it cut through every camera flash, every whispered rumor, every tightening ring of guards, until even the airport staff felt the tension rise like a changing pressure in the air. The incident began with a single movement, almost too fast for the untrained eye, when a miscommunication between airport personnel and Soo-kai's manager caused security to redirect him away from the departure corridor. To the public, it looked like he was being pushed, escorted out, even, according to some viral captions, thrown out. The footage, grainy and taken from multiple angles, showed Soo-kai stepping back, momentarily off balance, his expression shifting from confusion to frustration, though he remained composed in the way only someone accustomed to intense public scrutiny could manage. Fans immediately interpreted the scene as an act of disrespect, a mistreatment of the actor, and the clip spread across social platforms faster than any explanation could catch up. But what the viral videos failed to capture was the instant when Tan Songyun, already halfway through the security checkpoint, learned what had happened. A staff member had whispered the situation to her team, and though they attempted to downplay the confusion, the look that flashed across her face said everything. The poised, gentle actress known for her warm smile and calm public presence suddenly carried an expression far more intense, an expression that spoke of protectiveness, disbelief, and something deeper, something personal. Without waiting for her team's approval, without caring that dozens of fans were watching, she turned around and strode back toward the commotion with a speed and focus that startled even those who had worked with her for years. The crowd reacted instantly. Phones shot upward. Fans gasped. Some shouted her name, trying to warn her of the swarming cameras ahead, but Tan Songyun did not hesitate. She cut through the noise with a poise that did not diminish her anger, her step steady yet charged with purpose, and in that moment the entire terminal seemed to shift its attention from confusion to anticipation, waiting to see what she would do. When she reached the area where Soo-kai stood surrounded by security, her expression hardened further. She stepped into the circle of guards with a presence so commanding it made the officers pause despite their protocol. For a moment, Sukai looked at her in quiet surprise, the tension in his shoulders easing as he realized she had returned for him, and that single exchange of eye contact, silent, brief, yet heavy with meaning, became the spark that lit the internet on fire hours later.